Bill Ackman, it's a different thing. Bill Ackman, he has a trophy wife, this really vivacious, beautiful Israeli woman. And she's a former Israeli pilot, And so you can imagine her saying, to Ackman, do this and do that. And he's a complete thug. It's really quite astonishing. This guy, they're so arrogant, the rich. Sometimes you can have a rich person who has some humility. He takes upon himself, he has the right to decide who's going to be the president of Harvard. He's going to decide. Christine Gay has to go. They get rid of her. They got rid of McGill at U of P. They got rid of Shafiq at Columbia. Their arrogance. There was a book written by William Fulbright about the United States in the 1960s. It was during the Vietnam War. And the book was called, it had an influence on me. It's called The Arrogance of Power. The arrogance of these billionaires. That they decide who's going to be the president. So his motive, I think, is a little bit different. They've destroyed the Ackmans, the billionaire Jewish supremacists. They've destroyed academic freedom in our country. It's the most astonishing result of the Gaza genocide in the US. Academic freedom has been completely destroyed. They just used their leverage with the money. Just 2 weeks ago, Harvard they introduced these draconian limits on free speech at Harvard now. So I'm sure he believes, actually a lot of people believe, that if it serves the cause, it's true. That's the problem when you have that mindset with so much money.
What are these new draconian limitations?
They implemented what's called the IHRA, the International Holocaust Remembrance Association definition of anti-Semitism, which basically means, the bottom line is you can't criticize Israel. You can't criticize Israel. Then they're setting up a new anti-Semitic task force, anti-Semitism task force at Harvard, all sorts of things. You'll know the story? Oh, there was a settlement with some Jewish students claiming that they were oppressed at Harvard, and there was a settlement 2 weeks ago, and Harvard just completely caved in. It completely abandoned academic freedom as a concept. And I have to say, in my opinion, cancel culture was in part responsible for that. Because you have to know our history. What was the signature liberal law, a legal case in the 1980s, I think it was? There was a community in Illinois called Skokie, Skokie.
Near where I grew up.
Okay, and it was said to have a large community of Holocaust survivors living there. And the Nazi Party wanted to march through Skokie, its right of assembly. All right? And the case was litigated. The ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, it sided with the Nazi Party. In fact, a survivor of the Nazi Holocaust was the head of the ACLU, and I think it's Aryeh Neier, N-E-I-E-R. I don't want to say for certain, but I'm pretty sure. He was one of the defendants, one of the defense attorneys for the ACLU. He was ACLU, and they represented the Nazi Party. Okay? And that was a victory for freedom of speech. What happened with the cancel culture is they fabricated new standards of speech. speech which anyone perceived as being unwelcome, making you feel unwelcome, uncomfortable, or unwanted. Those were the categories. Unwanted, uncomfortable. Well, in my day, the notion was college was supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. It's supposed to challenge your most deeply held convictions. That was the whole point of college, or what was said to be the whole point of a liberal arts education, to challenge your beliefs and to make you feel uncomfortable in those beliefs. And now uncomfortable became the standard for suppressing speech. So that was a disaster, and I said so in my book, I'll Burn That Bridge. I said, page 37, I said, if Palestinian students start claiming that if a visiting speaker makes them feel uncomfortable or unwanted or unsafe, that was grounds for counseling the speaker, I said, it's only a matter of time before Jewish students use that same standard against you. And I was right. I can't claim any great prophetic competences or gifts there. It was obvious what was going to happen. It's going to backfire. But one thing I didn't realize when the woke brigade uses that argument about unsafe, unwanted, and uncomfortable, they have no resources behind them. They're mostly just, campus radicals. But when the other side used it, after October 7th and the demonstrations, when they started to say these encampments make them feel unwoke, unsafe, and uncomfortable, along comes the Jewish supremacist billionaire class, and they have resources. And they started to tell the university administrations, if you don't crush these encampments, you're not getting our money. And it was big money. Not so big. Harvard has an endowment in the tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars. I can't even remember, maybe even be hundreds now. I'm not sure. Can't remember. And they would have lost, no question, they would have lost several $100 million. Ackman made the first threat, but then there was an open letter sent by 1,200 Jewish alumni to Harvard. And so, I start adding up the numbers. I think Ackman's was 50 million. So, they would have taken a hit. But was the administration going to end up in a torture chamber? Was it going to end up in jail? A conviction is something you're supposed to pay a price for. And since the most ballyhooed feature of American university life in particular is academic freedom, Harvard's motto is Veritas, searching for the truth. Was it such a big sacrifice for academic freedom and freedom of inquiry to say, guys, you don't want to give us your money? You're free not to. But we're not abandoning, not a, not an, the definite article, the core feature of American universities, the principles of academic freedom and freedom of speech. Probably Harvard and all the other schools, it's all over now. It's Columbia and every other school. I talk to the activists. I'm in communication. Can't say anything anymore about Gaza. Can't say anything. They would probably have capitulated anyhow, even if cancel culture hadn't come along with its unsafe, uncomfortable, and unwanted criteria. But they made it easier. we're not going to give any money because our students feel, because Jewish students feel unsafe. They feel uncomfortable. It made it easier, but it would probably have happened anyway.